So now I'm returning to um, religious outcasts and really the beginning of Inquisition. And this history is especially controversial. Um, it should be kept in mind that Protestants, when they take political power, are not necessarily going to be much more tolerant. Um, it's for another topic. I guess what I'm just trying to put in perspective is that the Roman Catholic Church's actions that we're going to see here, again, do not reflect the values of even probably most Roman Catholics now. And this time is a little mind-boggling, especially as the Western world is standing in awe and seeing a religious extremism and kind of judging another religion, right? Um, that would show so little tolerance, our religious movements that show so little tolerance towards anyone. And as I was mentioning, that this was a political threat. So we see with the Cathars that crusaders, essentially knights that have been fighting and killing Muslims in the crusade in the Middle East, are going to be used back to actually kill their own people that they are viewed as heretics. Now imagine, without having any guns or arms or weapons, what a town standing up to well-trained veteran warriors of any military is gonna, how they're gonna handle it, how they're gonna stand up. We have really a type of almost, you could say, ethnic cleansing, a real genocidal just kind of legacy in terms of the treatment of these various religious outcasts. And I want to just kind of point out too that the Cathars belief system is talked about, and I'm just going to kind of say this out here, that I never trust. I'm not an expert on the Cathars. I just want to kind of throw out that this is not my strength. Peter Waldo, it's not my strength. But what I know is that when you have an Inquisition and when you have an enemy trying to root out something as being bad, they're going to describe those belief systems and very propaganda. They're going to be using propaganda to make that look bad. So Jews were often accused of having sacrifices of children, or drinking blood, or whatever. This is all just completely made up. That was used to make them look bad. So my point is that the belief systems of the Cathars at the time are the Waldensians and other groups. Anytime that the Inquisition would say what they believed, I would call into question, just as the way that as you saw in the textbook, that the Knights Templars even had to face this propaganda about their activities, which could have been based in some truth, but I would be skeptical of it. So we see this take place, this really harsh act against these groups that is essentially, I would argue, to keep this uniformity, that there was this real concern that political instability would occur and that there would be a threat to political power and the world order by allowing these variants. So when we saw some of these other famous religious people who did eccentric things, it was okay to the church if those individuals like Saint Francis of Assisi was actually going to be under the yoke of the church still. So if they could co-opt, if I could use that term, a movement, is one thing, but to go against, no, it's not tolerated, okay? And so we saw that. And here's a picture of depicting their a book burning. You're going to have any kind of censorship. You burn books, of course. All right, so we have the consolidation continuing on Roman Catholicism. I'm not going to talk too much about this stuff, but what I just want to say It's interesting that I think that with saints, this is something is unique to Orthodox Christianity and Roman Catholic, that Protestants generally completely disregard. Not all branches of Protestantism, but a good chunk, especially evangelicals. Um, uh, it looks like they're worshiping other gods, or Christianity is supposed to be monotheistic. Now, according to Catholic tradition, this is not an act of worship. They are, paying reverence to them in allegiance with God, or to have God plead on their behalf as intercessors. But this is not. They're not considering this worshiping other gods, but but opponents of Catholicism from the monotheistic traditions, from Protestant Christianity even to Islam, have said, "Wait a minute, this looks a little suspicious." In any case, there is a streamlining of patron saints, and towns will have their own saints, countries. And what was interesting to me is the increase in female saints, which there weren't initially. And so, that was the other issue. And we see a video that I'm posting on the Damsel, that the role of women is much more complex than people realize. But you do have this paradox where woman is simultaneously seen as Eve, the evil in which the door to which evil came into the world. She's blamed for all the sin of humanity. But then there is this total reverence towards Mary. And so Mary then takes on importance. She's considered the positive woman. But what is she? She's the perpetual virgin. So Virgin Mary, in Catholicism, in the New Testament, there's some verses that imply that even though that Jesus was claimed to be conceived by God's Holy Spirit, and that she was a virgin, there's discussion of brothers and sisters later on, implying that she was merely a virgin giving the birth of Jesus. But the Catholic Church teaches that she was always a virgin and remained so, even married to an earthly man, Joseph. And so here's this high ideal, the pure virgin, and then the wicked Eve, and so on. So, and you kind of catch some of that contrast, contradiction in the documentary that I'm having you watch. Okay. Some of the religious orders, just I want to point out that they were able to do certain things, again, to help create various facts on the ground, so to speak, in order of unifying the church. And they're going to lead into, more interest in education, and also developments that I think can streamline Catholicism. There was an emphasis on creating men who could debate and be engaged, to the point that where in 313, if you saw it on that page there, it mentions that there was a Mongolian Khan in the 13th century that wanted to debate from all the different religions in the world. And a Catholic was sent from one of these orders to make a case for Catholicism. And you often hear of debates, and you see that they you really see a type of philosophy developing. So I just wanted to point that out, but I'm gonna brush over that and briefly talk about some of the other aspects of religious life, and then we're going to move on to the next section. So I'm going to stop right here and return to this.